What's up, people? Welcome back. How you doing? I'm pretty good. Thanks. You ever like swirl coffee around your mouth and like let it go inside your gums and... I don't know. I do sometimes. Lighting breakdown. Gonna be simple, gonna be quick today. We only used one light, yes. And we're gonna achieve this look right here. So the only light that I used in this shoot was a 4-foot Nanlite Pavotube. This is a battery-powered RGB light, and a quick shout out to Nanlite. This isn't sponsored, by the way, but they create a very, very good product. I use their light for my key light. I have the Nanlite Forza 300, and I have their mini Pavotube, and now I picked up their RGB 4-foot Pavotubes. This isn't sponsored, but I just wanted to say that I do like their business. I like their products, and they are very affordable. So definitely check out Nanlite if you are in the market for more affordable lighting. So I'm not going to sit here and talk for a while. We're going to dive right into Photoshop and do a quick lighting breakdown. I'm going to go over things that I did to achieve the look for this shoot and things that I noticed that I could have done better after kind of reviewing the... I don't know what that was. Okay, hold on. Corona. When grading a lot of my clips, especially when I'm practicing or just regular shoots in general, I always like to have the raws, and I always like to grade everything just for practice. Even if I'm not the actual colorist for the project, I do like to have the raws in color just so I can notice things that I may have done wrong, or maybe things that I did really well, or these are all things that I like to do and take notes of for next shoot, the shoot after that. And I noticed a few things when grading this one that I could have done better, so I will be mentioning that as well. We'll be going over two different looks here. One is me by the sink, you know, just wash my hands, wash my face. And the next one is me in the shower. Yes, I stepped in the shower. No, the water isn't running. It's the glass. It looks pretty cool, so it looks like it's showering. So to cut me off, because I will keep rambling forever and ever, let's go right into Photoshop. Alright, so now we're in Photoshop, and you guys don't know this, but this is the second time I'm doing this because the mic was not turned on before. Sing song. Okay, now we're back. So, the first lighting breakdown, we're going to be going over these three different frames here. Essentially, I am just washing my hands, you know, all cinematic and stuff, and washing my face and scary. Shot that we're going to go over, and the first thing that you notice is obviously the green hue that illuminates this whole entire shot. Normally when I do overheads, especially for this example, the lights are usually over on top of the mirror, and I put the tube horizontal this way, just shining downwards. So something that I wanted to try a little bit different was, instead of putting the light typically horizontal here, I put it perpendicular and horizontal against this wall over here, which shine the light this way. The reason why I did that, and what it does essentially, is if you look at the hands, it has a nice highlight to shadow roll off. So you see a nice highlight here, and it rolls off to a really nice soft shadow. Now, if I were to put the Pavotube back over here, the image would be generally just a little bit flatter. So I wanted to experiment with that and see how that looked, and I'm pretty happy with the way it looks with this particular shot right here. Now, the other thing that I did was add a neg. So as you can see here on my hair and my shirt back here, pretty much from that area on, this neg was blocking this part of my body, just creating a little bit more shadow and a little bit more contrast, whereas this tube was hitting some walls and bouncing all over the place. This just created a little bit more of a controlled environment and helped create a little bit more interest and a little bit more shadows. Alright, so the next shot we're going to be going over is this profile shot, and this one in particular I do have some problems with. This is one of these shots that I honestly don't like the most here. This is the one I dislike. The reason why is because there isn't enough definition, there isn't enough shape for me. It's just, it feels very flat. And one thing you look at also is the back of my neck right here. There's this green kind of just hue right here, and it's just pretty freaking ugly, if I'm going to be honest. But what we're going to do is just go over it anyway and just kind of analyze what I did wrong and what I could potentially be doing better here. So the Nanlite Pavotube overhead here, shining down this way on the opposite side of my head right here, creating a nice highlight on the other side, which obviously you don't see because that is one of the problems that I have. The camera position here, I'm not too big of a fan of. What I would have done differently is maybe went with a more handheld look. If I was actually shooting a subject and not myself, I would have went handheld just to create a little bit of motion so I could catch the other side of the face and see some of that highlight. But since I didn't, and this is pretty much all still on sticks, you'll notice my face right here is pretty flat. Now, what I would have done differently here is pretty much just brought the exposure up a little bit more by potentially on top of the mirror, put a mini Pavotube right over here, maybe at a 4500 degree Kelvin or something along those lines that's not green, and shined it directly on my face here to create a little bit more exposure and separation, because it's pretty flat and it's deep in the shadows right now. And I didn't want it to be that green hue, just so I didn't want it to be green. So maybe making it 4500 Kelvin would have added a little bit more separation, just a general overall bump in exposure for my face. So that's one thing I would have done differently, is brought an exposure value. I would have brought the exposure up in my face and keyed me a little bit better. And of course, going back, I would have changed this green neck thing right here. I don't know what that is, but I don't like it. And that's something I will look for in the future, is those little minute details that I may have missed while shooting. But the good thing about this shot that I really do like is the top light on my hair. It looks really nice. It creates a little bit of interest, a little bit of green. It's kind of nice. And also the back right here, my hump back, as you could see. The shadow roll off, the highlight roll off from bright to dark is really nice, and it's really soft. It's not too abrupt. And I just really like the way that looks in this image. One thing that I do notice also that I'm not a big fan of is this overall bump in exposure on the green right here. I don't know why that's there. I think it was because the way that I was pointing the Pavotube, it might have been a little bit too much at the wall instead of me. But that's one thing that I noticed that I could have done better, was position the Pavotube so it's a little bit more directional and less on the wall. Alright, so this is the final shot that we'll be going over for this particular scene, and one of the things that you'll notice in the beginning is this foreground element. Now, you might be thinking, what is this? And some of you are like, well, that's a shower door, and obviously you're right. So this is a shower door, and this has twofold reasons why I did this. One, because it creates interest in the foreground. It's something interesting to look at, and it's not just a flat image. Two, there is a C-stand right here with the light, and for some of you that are in really tight spaces and you can't really maneuver a C-stand and get it out of the way of the frame, sometimes putting things in the foreground to block the stand is a really great way for you to kind of just get rid of that stand. So right here is a C-stand, and so most of you guys will not see it. I don't even see it, which means that it worked. So moving on. The Pavotube again is over here, shining down this way and onto this side of my face. As you can see of the roll off on my back, goes from highlight to shadows this way. And again, I had the neg right here, kind of blocking this side of my face, or this side of my body right here, creating more shadow and a little bit more interest, so the Pavotube wasn't bouncing all around my bathroom. This just created a little bit more control. So as you can see in my face here, this is pretty much what I was talking about last time. Since the Pavotube was on this side coming down this way, you'll notice that there's a little bit more of an exposure on this side of my face right here. Now, if I go back, you'll see that this side is a little bit darker and this side is a little bit brighter. And that was essentially my goal for this, but I didn't really get that with the profile shot. But you could see it here that there's a little bit more of a contrast ratio difference there. One thing that I want to change drastically in this shot that I potentially need to figure out how to do is this little triangle right here. Now, I'm not a fan of that. I don't know what it is. If you guys maybe, I don't know if you could even help me with that, but I think I might just need to try this shoot out again and see if I can get rid of this. I would have tried to make it a little bit more flat, but I'm just not a fan of the difference in exposure here. It just looks a little weird to me. But overall, this is the shot. This is the overall look that I achieved with those 3 different frames, with one light, one neg, and a little bit of atmosphere. So moving on to the shower scene. All right, so this is me in the shower, looking all sexy and blurry and stuff. This shot was very simple and very straightforward. I had a Nanlite Pavotube horizontal over me instead of perpendicular like I had last time. I put this horizontal, pretty much natural like I would normally do on an overhead. So one thing that I did differently that I want to point out is, instead of putting the Pavotube straight overhead equal to my body, whereas the light would wrap around fairly easy and fairly equal around me, what I did was I put the Pavotube a little bit more in front of me. This is why I could wrap the light a little bit more on my front side, and there's less wrap around the back side. As you can see right here, the highlight to shadow roll off is really nice, and it creates a little bit of interest, and it's not just a flat image. So that's just one thing I want to note, and is a quick tip, is if you are doing overhead light with one single source, if you want to create a little bit of interest, position your tube either more forward or more backwards, depending on how you want your image to look. And one thing I want to note that I didn't add in the previous frames is that I added a black neg on the window in my bathroom. Now I shot this around 3 p.m. and sunlight was beaming through the windows, and obviously I wouldn't be able to achieve this look with that sunlight, so I just added a black cloth on the window to just darken out the whole entire scene. And last thing in this scene that I want to show you is just the overall production design, art, whatever you want to call it, the shower door here. I think this is called rain glass, and I was in the shower and the water was not on at all, but just due to the sheer fact of the design of this glass, it looks like there is some water dripping. I did wet my hair a little bit, but focusing on the door instead of me added a little bit of interest and a little bit of mystery in me without showing all of the details. So just a quick tip, if you want to create a little bit of mystery and you have some really cool glass elements, maybe focus on that so you can't really focus on the details of the subject you're shooting through the glass. Alright, so hopefully that wasn't too long. Thank you guys for sticking around. Hopefully you guys learned things from what I did right, and hopefully you guys learned things from what I did wrong. So either way, there's always learning benefits and things to grow on, whether you did things right or wrong. There's always room for growth and pretty much getting better, and that's why we're practicing. So thank you guys very much for sticking around. As always, we are almost at the 2,000 subscriber mark. So corny. Also, East Waves, this is what I wear 900% of the time. Check it out in the description. They make dope stuff. Thank you guys for sticking around as always. I really appreciate your guys' support. We are almost at 2,000 subscribers. It's a lot. So if I had 2,000 people in this room breaking COVID protocol, just kidding. I think I can maybe have like comfortably 7 people in this room. So 2,000, I don't know if that's possible. We'd be laying on each other. Okay, sidetrack always. Thank you guys. I will see you next time. Have a great day.